Hello and welcome to Down the Vent. My name's Joe.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Steve.
And today we're going to be recapping
There you go.
our trip to Origins 2019.
Going over the things that we did and the stuff that we saw.
And the things we liked and didn't like.
It was Steve and I's second time going to Origins.
And my first.
And Josh's first. And it was actually really our first time going to Origins. Like the first time we went for Saturday.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah, we went down on Friday. We were there for late Friday. We spent most of the day Saturday and really only like 2 hours or 3 hours in there on Sunday because of a combination of things, and so we didn't get a good opportunity.
Like this year we all went down on Thursday.
Right.
Morning-ish.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, afternoon.
Yeah.
And then we were there Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We took off Sunday morning, but Steve stayed with Steve.
Right.
Yeah.
And along with the three of us, the other person that would be involved would be Paul, who often watches a lot of our videos. I went with Paul. We went in the morning, but the way things worked out, we ended up getting there pretty close to the same time you guys did, apparently.
Yep.
Interestingly enough. So
well, we started out really slowly.
Oh my word.
We had a bad ride in Toledo.
Let's go over my first hour of trip to Origins with Josh. So Josh comes here, has no plans after 7:30 in the morning. I say, meet me at 10. I gotta work, and then we'll take off.
Mm-hmm.
He gets here like 9:30. Josh is always early.
Yep.
Forgets the ice.
Yep.
Didn't buy himself meat and cheese because we're going to be eating sandwiches for lunch.
Yep.
So we leave at 10 o'clock, and we stopped at a grocery store first.
Yep.
So Josh can get some food.
Well, a Dollar General is where we stopped, grocery store.
They had groceries.
Yes. We saw my dad there because he works there, and I forgot that he worked there.
Yeah. So then we had to hang out and talk to him for a bit, you know.
And they had ice, so we were able to get ice there. We bought some drinks.
Which Josh forgot again.
Yes. I did.
Luckily,
as I'm purchasing everything, I was like, oh, darn, I forgot the ice. Too late, Joe got it.
Yep.
But, yeah, we got ice. I got food, meat, pickles. The pickles were trash.
Oh, they were so bad. Don't buy Family or Dollar Tree.
Yeah.
Note to everybody, probably avoid there anyways and go someplace decent rather than...
The meat and cheese was fine.
Yeah, meat and cheese was fine.
Sure.
I didn't really like the Lay's, but that's kind of Lay's.
That's just Lay's. Yeah, it wasn't Family Dollar or Dollar Tree.
But then, what else happened? Then
we were on the road for about 15 minutes, and Josh was like, I need to eat breakfast now.
I was hungry.
So then we had to stop and get some food at McDonald's. Then we got back on the road, and then we were headed to Origins. Well, the next stop we had to make was for gas.
Yeah.
So
well,
it took us a while to get there. How about you guys?
I think it was like a 5-hour
Oh, and then, of course, there was an accident on 23, so we had to take
a
a roundabout way out towards like Chicago and around instead of just going straight shot there.
So,
Paul... Chicago? I meant Detroit.
You did say Chicago.
Chicago.
I was like, wow, that's
an
interesting
way
way to
too far out of the way.
So we went, Paul got to my place probably 9 o'clock, give or take a couple minutes. We loaded everything up, got started down the road. We were originally going to go down, originally we talked about going one way, but we ended up going down 23. That way we wouldn't have to go through the city and all through the traffic on 75. Got down, it was a pretty straight shot. Everything was good until we got to Toledo and the point where like 23 starts to branch off and head you east into there. There was an accident and we were for 45 minutes to drive 1.5 miles. And then as soon as we got through that, we were back on the road and good.
Yeah, Google, we were far enough back that Google was like, whoa, 45 minutes. It literally said like there's a 50-minute backup.
Yeah. Well,
and it routed us out to Detroit.
We'd seen that there was a backup, but it didn't say anything but the thing was it didn't look like that very bad.
You guys were about 30 minutes or hour ahead of us.
Right. And then the other thing that happened that was crazy about it was we were actually at a point where we could have gotten off there. But because we weren't really familiar, it was like, well, I don't know exactly how we tie back in, and we didn't want to play a bunch of games. But otherwise, trip was pretty straightforward. We stopped at a very old school Denny's that was along the way, and had an incredibly mediocre breakfast, including coffee that was about as warm as your beer is right now.
Yeah, it's been out for a while.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. She picks it up. I watch her pour it. She sets it on the gives it to me. And she held the whole thing by her hand.
The pot?
The cup. And the thing is it'd be literally like, I put my stuff in there. I was like, man, this is so hot. Feel it, Paul. Paul grabs it and it's like, as lukewarm as possible to be lukewarm.
The cup
is like,
as warm it is.
it was awful. Yeah, and everything else is mediocre, but whatever. And then got down to this thing. Also, interestingly enough, when we did go a couple years ago, we did not pick the greatest hotel that ever lived, and interestingly enough, Paul, without knowing so, essentially picked another motel off the exact same exit, but the opposite side. That was about 11% better, but it was 11% in all the ways that were important. The room was a little nicer, and there was no restaurants or anything else in the parking lot that required security guards that made everybody feel uncomfortable. So it was good. It was good.
That's good.
Our hotel room was, we ended up staying with 3 other guys that we know.
Yep.
So our rooms
Some suites, I can't remember what it was called, but it was very musty smelling.
Hampton Suites, I think. It was very, like, you walked in and it felt
It was
like
very,
the room was...
Well, I know the Hampton Inn Suites was across the street. That there was one across the street because that's
This
where
was, like, 10
where
years
something
ago.
that I'll talk
You're
about
by the
later
airport,
happened. So yeah.
But because I could hear airplanes going over us all night long.
Nice.
That was the only bad part.
Nice.
Besides the must. But we had 2 separate rooms. Bedrooms were actually separate. That was nice.
Instead of one room with both beds,
and it had a living room, which we live streamed from as well. A couple games,
But when we got there, we went straight to parking because we had to pick up our tickets, and parking is horrendous, terrible.
If you ever go, do not park at the North Market and think it'll be fine because the sign says it's like $2 an hour. $25 for about 4 hours of parking.
The best place to park is that big flat giant dirt area.
Maybe.
By the market, it was $10
during the week.
Sure. Well, sure, but it was also twice the walk, so it really depends on whether or not you want to be twice the walk from where you're at.
Every parking space we went to, full.
Yeah.
Full. Employee parking.
Right.
Employee parking.
Yeah.
Right, but and we were about as far away as you guys were on that first day, but we were in a structure. It was more expensive in that structure, but almost every other day we were closer than you guys were. And some of those days it was $15, some of those days it was $20. So yeah, parking is tough down there. I mean, they have a lot of parking. It's just they do if you consider that it wasn't until there was 10,000 extra people or 18,000 extra people in the city.
Convention center. You have to.
Sure, but many conventions are not week time; they're weekends. Is all I'm getting at. And again, Saturday probably would have been way better, except aside from that, there was a Pride parade, and that was another probably 4,000 to 5,000 people. Because my understanding it's one of the largest in the Midwest. Yeah. So which was all great, just busy, It was busy. So you guys got down there on Thursday. What did you guys do when you got down there?
We ran and got our badges.
Yep. And anything else?
But Joe's badge was messed up.
My badge I could not get.
Nice.
Because apparently I was looking at tickets beforehand because I was looking for tickets for events, and I just add them to my wish list or something like that. And they said, well, you have these and you never checked out, so you have to pay for them. I was like, I didn't want them. I was just looking at them. So I couldn't get my badge because I had events locked in that I never paid for. But I didn't want them.
So they had to go in and
so they told me I had to
account.
go to customer service, which had this giant line to get them removed.
Wow, shocking. You mean there was a giant line on one of the first days to fix things things that were effed up?
But
seems unlikely.
Then they're like, well, maybe the guy in the end can help you. Because there was 20 people waiting to register people, and we were literally the only people registering.
Yeah.
So the guy in the end was like, yeah, I can remove them. I was like, that would be awesome because I don't want to have to wait in that line over there just to get my badge.
And then we got press badges. Mine had the correct information on it. Joe's was blank, so mine said down the vent press. Joe's was just Joe.
Yeah, Joe and then press.
Joe Press.
Joe Press.
Joe Press.
So that's fine.
So you checked in and then
the badge for Josh was super simple. He walked up, put his name and email address in, and it literally printed.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got down there Thursday as well. We get into the place. It was in this, if you remember, it was slightly different area where it was at the time before because it was more it was more like by where the Bubble Tea or where the
Central,
Rio Grande. It was a little more instead of at the end. But that didn't matter. We got down to it. There was nobody there when we were there, and there was actually only 3 people behind the counters. So a bunch of those people that were there when you'd done it must either come in or gone out for whatever. Yeah. But it took us 2 minutes to do that. We walked around to the other side to grab. And also because we had the one. We had we got the badge for the boardroom, and because we got the ribbon for the boardroom, you had to go around the corner and do that. But again, nobody was in that line by the time we got in there, And let me just say right now, so the Boardroom Pass was $20 for the entire convention, and there was a fairly sizable section, pretty large really, that allowed us to where you could go and sit or play games and check stuff out from the Columbus area board gamers or Cabs library. And we didn't do that when we went before, and we've never done that at Gen Con, at least since I've been going. And certainly at Origins, this point going forward, I will do that every time if I'm going at least 2 full days.
Just to be able to get a table almost.
A table anytime we wanted to. You could check a game out and actually take it home, take it to a hotel room and bring it back, even overnight. And that's per person. So technically you could take a couple if you're multiple people there. And there were several times that Paul and I went in there and just sat because there was a space. It was near the floor. You didn't have to go too far. And you weren't really fighting anybody else. And then we could figure out what we were going to do. Like I punched a couple games in there and that I gotten, and we got a few things set. And so very, very, very well worth it.
I did tell Josh on Saturday, I was like, we should have got the ribbons for the board game room.
If you guys didn't have, if you guys wouldn't have had so many things, I was going to literally buy them on Friday when you guys said you did, because I was going to just buy them for you guys if there was the ones available. But you're like, well, we have things at this time and this time and this time, and because it's been inconsistent in past conventions that we've all gotten to play.
Yeah.
This one would have been perfect because you guys would have just played, it would have been much better. Yeah. But we've not done that. And I also am considering doing. They were one of the guys from one of the people that we saw was saying that definitely there's an upstairs area at Gen Con that is well worth it because there's usually a lot of area in there to go and play even after the convention closes out. And I don't think it requires a badge to get into.
Oh wow!
So yeah, I will try and find out more about that as time if you guys remind me. I know it's upstairs. It was one of the gaming areas. So
speaking of Gen Con. I will say, let's compare Origins to Gen Con because those are like the 2 big ones in the
Midwest.
Those
are the 2
in the summer
that we've been to.
Yeah,
those are the 2 that we've been to.
We've been to Grand Con.
Yeah, and that's really the only other one.
Yeah. Right. No, down the Vent Con.
Yeah, besides DTV Con, right?
That ain't going to it. It's running.
It was for me. I was going to it.
Right. The will call / customer service area at Origins versus Gen Con is. Like, Gen Con, it's a nightmare. Last year, there was, like, people wrapped literally outside the building.
Right.
Length of
it
the
went all the way to the
hall.
stage.
Right, but it actually went out the door and out around the corner. But
7 times the people.
Right.
2 or 3 days straight, though. It was like
right.
Every day.
Right, because there was a lot of people that only come at the weekend or only come on whatever day. And again, it is 65,000 people compared to 15 to 20,000 people. I mean, there is a big difference.
So what he's saying about Gen Con is get your badge mailed to you. Don't be a dummy.
Yeah.
If you can
customer service is like a last resort at Gen Con.
I will say though, having stood in those lines a couple times at Gen Con because I had to for like the way badges came out, they actually moved very fast.
Oh, that's good.
Like they actually were shockingly fast because my friend Jerry.
30 people working.
Well, here's the thing: when Jerry was in, if you remember how it stretched down that hall, right, and it went all the way down, and then there was like the doors at the end, right?
Yep.
He was only about 20 feet from those doors, and it took him 40 minutes to get to the front.
Wow.
That's really not that bad if you consider that was a half a mile. I mean, he was literally like a quarter mile from where he needed to be. Plus, at the end, there's a snake line too, and that you had to go, one of those back and forths and stuff, So it's like, it wasn't horrendous.
That's good.
It was just.
I never stood in the line. It just looked intimidating.
Yeah, I mean, it's not fun, you know what I mean, but it wasn't as long as you would have thought it would be, all things considered.
With what Steve said earlier, with Origins having a lot less people, it was a lot less crowded at Origins.
There's more room in the aisles.
Yeah.
The aisles almost seem
Okay, wait. Let's be careful here. Think of only Saturday, not any other day.
Yes.
Because Saturday was far and away the most busy day.
Yes.
And if we're being fair,
we encountered one stop and go situation on Saturday.
Still nowhere near as bad as
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying like it's very unfair to think of the way it was late Thursday compared or you guys weren't even there Sunday, and Sunday was actually even like more open at spots, but that would be a very unfair comparison compared to Saturday at Gen Con or Friday at Gen Con.
I just meant overall.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
People.
Yeah. There
overall, a lot less people, but overall, a lot less vendors.
Yeah.
Probably about a third of what
Yeah,
Gen Con
I would say
has.
a third is about right.
There's a few games that I saw.
A lot more demos, I realized. Like, not a lot of sales, I feel.
There was a lot to buy as
There,
well.
there was a lot to buy.
But
The
a
new-
lot of...
I think it was about a third all the way around. I think because it was because almost everybody that was there, like there was hardly any booths unless it was like cool stuff that only does selling, that didn't also have demos of something going on.
Yeah.
Now they may not have had a lot of them, or it might have been harder to get into some of them, because maybe they didn't have like 10 tables. They only have like 4 tables to do demos
I
on.
would
I'm
say
saying
it's
for some of
actually
it.
easier to get into demos at Origins.
Yeah.
I'd say almost
Yeah.
only except one time. We just walked. We played a lot of games, demoed a lot of games because we just walked up and there was literally no one there demoing.
Right, but you did that 2 years ago too. You guys did a lot of demos
Yes.
up and down.
At Origins.
And right,
Yeah.
and the thing is when I went 2 years ago, I only got to demo a couple games because the ones that I wanted to were full and you couldn't get into them. Right? If you remember, I was so frustrated with Academy Games because I wanted to play that 878 and I tried to get into where they were doing the things where you need badges, couldn't get in there. And then I tried to do in the normal area and they were always busy, or somebody was at lunch and it's like never got. And again, it was only a day and a half, but given that it was one of the few things I was very interested to do, that was frustrating. And to add another layer to that, Paul and I only demoed one thing. Now, part of that was because we didn't stop very many places to even try to demo. And we didn't get into the 2 things we wanted to demo the most. So we demoed Run Fighter Die Reloaded, which was great. Super fun. Can't wait to play it when I get it. But we never got to do Smartphone Inc. And across from the hall was Underwater Cities.
You couldn't find Smartphone Inc?
No, we found it. We didn't see it on Thursday.
One demo table.
There was 2 demo tables, and they were always full. Yeah. Always full every second of the day that they were available.
The problem with it being 1/3 size, they have smaller booths.
Right. Well, and again,
they have small booths at Gen Con too.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
but I think the companies had comparable sized booths.
Right, for the ones that were there. I mean, obviously,
I didn't see any booths that are like I need to share with 5 other
like
companies.
2 people sharing a 6-foot table or 8-foot table.
Yeah. There was very few, if any, of that. But the thing was again, there was a lot fewer. The other thing that I would add to that whole piece about that would be that that again there were a lot fewer overall booths that were doing stuff, and some companies weren't there at all.
Yeah, like
Simon wasn't, other than some other people selling their games. Come on, it was not.
Play Waste Games. I was sad they weren't there because there was a game I wanted to get of theirs.
Right.
Who else? The people that do Dragoon wasn't there.
That's Slay Waste Games.
Yeah. There were some others.
Ravensburger wasn't there.
Yeah.
Flight wasn't there, were they? Or
Asmodee? No, Asmodee does not has a thing. Right, but
I didn't realize that till now.
Right, but here's the thing: there also were about 20 new games or 25 new games that were actually there and available, debuting and available.
Yeah.
And there are probably 300 at Gen Con. So that's a huge difference. There and available new.
That's true. Asmodee, Fantasy Flight, all of them, they don't release their new games at Origins. They wait till Gen Con, usually.
Even seemed like Yellow.
And Fantasy Flight doesn't even announce them till
Wednesday
of Gen Con.
Right. But again, that is very common. This is not if you're going because, gosh, I want to buy all the great new things or whatever else, not the show not the show.
I mean, if you're going to play games,
it's great.
Get the badge Steve got and just go play games.
Or bring enough stuff and then and you get there early and stake a table out. Yeah. Or do like the Secret Cabal and them if you're lucky enough where you know that your hotel has some space where you can go and take over that space. That's what they did. That's why they were never there.
Luckily enough, our room was big enough where we had 2 tables that made it big enough. We played Zaya.
Right.
In our hotel
right.
room.
We had one, and it was big enough to do. We put the table we had was big enough to do all of Newton, which you guys wouldn't have seen, but it was about this big from here to the end of the table. So pretty sizable and all that.
But which one do I like better? We did go as press, so we had a lot of.
It was much different being press, because we were constantly recording, and even taking pictures and posting to Instagram and stuff like that, trying to.
And we had hour-long meetings, 4 or 5 each day, so it was a lot different. So, I still like Gen Con.
I wish we would have had time to play more games in between them. Or I wish we would have had an attached hotel.
Yes.
Because we a few times we're like, man, I'd love to just go back to the hotel and like set up a game and play it real quick, like one of these new ones.
Because we have like a 2-hour gap.
Right.
But,
but if you'd had the badge, that would have if you'd had the ribbon to go into the games area, you could have easily gone in there and done it, and it would have been a table with room, so you could have done the recording right there.
I like being able to go back to the room and poop and pee. And
Right. Sure. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I much prefer that too, but I much prefer that too. I'm just saying, like, you could have accomplished some of what you're talking about. I will say this particular convention was really rivals either of the Gen Cons, because I got to play more games than I have at any of them, probably any 2 of them combined of the other big conventions.
Yeah.
Maybe all 3 of them combined, to be honest, because I think I ended up playing about 13 or 14 games over the days. And almost all of the games I played were new to me too. Yeah. So I learned a ton of new games or got games to the table, and that was really big. And so that part would be a big deal. As far as other stuff outside of that, what did you guys see that would be something like? Was there anything that were highlights that weren't either games specifically, or like people you saw or vendors that you talked to or whatever?
So, being that it's a smaller convention, the vendors, the publishers, the designers that are at the booths and stuff like that have way more time to talk to you. I got to meet Rob Oren, who's
such a great guy,
part of BGG now.
Right.
He is super nice.
Yeah.
And I've commented, I was like, it was so great. He made a recap video, and I was like, it was so nice to meet you. And he was like, sorry I didn't have more time. Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, it was fine. I just wanted to say hi. But he was a great guy. That was nice to finally get to meet him, because I've been following him for years.
I got Steve a celebrity signature.
That's right. Josh signed Steven
the Don himself.
Yeah, he was setting up to demo a game with some media, and Josh snuck in. And
he was just sitting there by himself. I'm like, hey.
Yeah, that's right. Being that it was less crowded, me and Josh scoped out how like BGG was set up, because they were live streaming. There was GTM, the Gaming Trade Magazine, was set up streaming, like painting. There was miniature painting streaming all weekend as well.
Yeah.
And there was people that
was it GTM or MTG?
I think it was GTM. I think it's Game Trade
Okay.
Magazine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
And then there was another guy that was streaming like not Magic, but they were streaming.
Oh, Keyforge. Yeah.
Keyforge. So we saw their setup.
We got to check up all their setups and just kind of figure out an easier way for when we go to these cons to take gear.
And how to set up this better.
Sure.
Yeah. So that was interesting to see. That was cool. Other than that, I mean, if you know like personalities from YouTube and stuff like that, a lot of them go to Gen Con or Origins.
Yeah. Gen Con too, but Origins.
And they have a lot more time at Origins than they will.
And
if
you go out to like the Secret Cabal's dinner thing, they were all there.
Yeah.
And we got there early enough. We were able to get a table and kind of mingle with all of them almost. I know you mingled more than anybody else.
Yeah, by mingle you mean stared at people, and occasionally I called somebody over and then everybody talked to
you set up like a date, sir.
Yeah.
And we did get moon pies from Marty.
Yeah, we got moon pies from Marty Cannell. I saw a lot of people in the hall. I probably saw 25 to 30 YouTube or personalities and or podcaster, depending on, or both. You
probably saw more of that, because there's a lot of the smaller ones that I know from like the Facebook groups like now that were all there.
Yeah, no, Well, and I played a game. I played with Randy Kirby, who's part of one of the smaller stuff that we game together. The ones where they played the guitar in the openings situation, Joe. I don't know if you remember from Board Game Breakfast, but then played with them. A bunch of other people, saw tons and tons of people. And then when we went to the Secret Cabal event, the way things ended up working out is we met several people. A bunch of the guys from the Secret Ball came in, and I said hi to one or two of them, and we kind of pointed them out. But there was enough people there that they kind of knew better, that they kind of moved themselves around and got talking to other people. So we continued to have our meal and whatever, drank a little bit and whatever, and then we were getting ready to leave. And when we were, there was some beef jerky that was at the end of the table that had been left there that I knew was Chris Miller's from the Secret Cabal. And somebody's like, and since we were the last ones getting up from that table, because we shared it with another group of guys, I was like, oh, well, I don't want to leave it here because I don't want somebody to take it or them to throw it away, the staff. So I picked it up and gave it back to him because he's over in the other room. And he's like, oh, thanks, blah, 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 this. One thing led to another. I told him, if he ever was interested in the game. He said, well, what are you doing tomorrow? Surprisingly. I was like, I have space. Asked me what I wanted to play, and he offered to teach Tricarian. And I've got that coming later in the year, and I know it's one of his current favorite games. Yeah. And so he and myself and Paul, who I rode with, and then Patrick from Blue Peg, Pink Peg, met at their hotel the next day and played that. He taught that. They were super cool, super nice people. And then also when I said, well, we were talking, I was like, yeah, I didn't really get a chance to talk to Jamie or some of the other guys because, everybody's so busy. And he was like, everybody else is ready to leave. He's like, stand right here. Do not move. I was like, all right, fine. Yeah, and you guys are all like...
Well, Steven, 5 minutes before this was like, I'm ready to go. I'm done schmoozing.
No. I said I'd stay some, but I guess we're all ready to go. I'm done. I'm not going to try and go crazy in there and whatever else.
I'm not going to try to schmooze anymore.
Yeah. And then...
Before we even walk out the door, schmoozy. I laid on the ground. I laid for a half hour waiting on Steven.
I was fine. I was fine with that. I really didn't care. So, and it was super fun. Got to meet Jamie, got to meet AC. Again, play a game with Chris. Met so many people. Dan Patrice from Geek All Stars. I saw Nick Murphy like several times. Saw him once, said hi to him or whatever, like just kind of said hi in passing. And then again later on, I saw him. He was demoing a game at a booth, and I was like real loud. I was like, I always see that Nick Murphy everywhere. And he turns, he does this, he just turns, he goes with his like look. It was so great. And then he just turned back to his game, and I kept going and saw him a couple other times. John Gets Games. When I saw the last day after you guys had left on Sunday, went back by the BGG booth because I was hoping to see Rob Warren in there because I'd seen him once, but he was busy, and so I wanted to get back over there. Well, Rodney was over there, and so was Chaz Marler, and they were standing up by the thing. So I went up, and the year before, last year Gen Con, I'd done this whole thing where we were waiting in line, and Rodney goes to check us out, and I told my buddy Jerry, I was like, watch this. And he's like, man, it's such a pleasure to see you. I can't believe it. I watch your stuff all the time, and you do such great work. And he smiles, he's all happy like that. And I was like, I just can't believe. I was like, Jerry, this is Chaz Marler. He's great. And his face just dropped, right? So then when I came up that time, I was like, I'm so sorry, Chaz. Last year I'd seen Rodney and I got confused, and I thought, or I'd seen him and I thought it was you, Chaz, and I didn't realize. And it wasn't until later that I realized that it was Chris Miller I was talking to, and I was so happy. And Rodney's face dropped again, and then we had this whole conversation. And what was very funny about it was when they went to do the pre-taping, Chaz said that when they went to do the pre-taping for that TV show that's going to come out, because Chaz and Rodney went to that too, the producer's mother was in the crowd behind Chaz and stuff, right? And at one point when there was a break between the production, she says to him, oh, I want to tell you that I really appreciate all the things that you do, and I really love this and that, and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, I really appreciate it. And she's, and your how to play videos are just the best. And he realized at that point that she thought he was Rodney Smith. So Rodney's dying. Chaz said I made his con by doing the whole little thing in front of him about, like that. And I talked to him both afterwards. And, again, to continue a thing that's happened with every single person I've met at every single convention, everybody's super nice. Everybody gave more than enough time if possible. Like nobody was rude. Everybody was really happy about the things that went on, and it was a pleasure. Like all of that was a super big pleasure. And really the regular people. We played games with, aside from the people that we played that, the last day, the other thing that we did was we played Black Orchestra, because Paul had wanted to play that. So it was me and him. We were getting it out of the library to play, and two guys that were just standing there wanted to know if we minded if they played too. So we played. We won. They were super cool, like just out of nowhere, people, and super great. That part I can't deny.
Yeah, we sat with a couple people and played with a couple people, just random people looking for more people, which is nice.
Yeah.
Which is harder to find at Gen Con because usually people bring bigger groups or meet people there at Gen Con to play with.
And then there's also just less areas to play, so. Yeah.
I'm not as big as a fangirl as Steven over here, and I don't listen to every single podcast ever on planet Earth and fangirl over everybody.
That's true.
But it was enjoyable. It was kind of like those wow moments when you did see the people you watch, like being like, you know, this close to somebody, and going, this is kind of surreal.
Yeah.
You know, seeing somebody that you know, watch and you're following in their footsteps almost. So that was really neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next question, Joe.
All right.
You talk.
Sure, I got a question here. All right. So, what was your favorite game that you played during the con?
Ooh, I didn't get to play it.
No, that you played during the con.
What do you mean you didn't get to play it?
That wouldn't qualify. Game.
No, not. Did you play your favorite game during the con? What was your favorite game that you played during the con? Steve, you got
well, I know what Josh's should have been.
Yeah.
What should?
Yeah. Dropping the kids off at the pool.
Oh,
I mean, he would play that game so many times.
So
many times.
I should have brought games to just play with people because I spent about
Joe should have brought single-player
4 to 5 hours sitting outside the bathroom waiting for Josh during like 2 days of the convention.
He was heavily motivated at this convention.
I ate a lot of food and used the bathroom a lot.
Okay, so Joe, since you haven't talked for a minute, what was your favorite game that you played?
I think my favorite game, I had a lot of fun with it, was Men at Work.
Oh.
Which is a dexterity game.
You destroyed everybody.
And it had like beams that you could put on, or men with hats, and then you sometimes had to put beams on them.
Or
bricks.
And according to Joe's story, and that Josh backed up, and he was loath to do so, there were several times where the guy took pictures that was demoing it because he said he'd never seen anybody actually do the move that Joe was doing, and Joe pulled it off like a beast every time. So
Joe's like, can I lay a beam on another worker's head? And the guy's like, yes. And
right.
Joe's like, bloop.
and just did it like no problem. So
he's like, I've never seen that.
And what did you say? Good luck to the next guy. You know, like that, like that.
Which is
yeah. That would have been quite good.
Yeah.
That would have been quite good.
So I had a lot of fun with that. It was, and those two random dudes we played with, they're super nice, and they were just like, there's no way, like they were just blown away by what was going on. It was so fun.
For me, I'm torn between two things. I think I maybe barely liked Newton more as far as the game goes, right? Like, I really did enjoy Newton. It was very interesting how the game worked. And like Joe, I won by a sizable margin, but it was both of our first time playing, and like that, you know. Yeah, well, Paul was like, I think I'd done much better if we hadn't started this at 1 o'clock at night and finished at 3 o'clock in the morning. So after the full day, that was Saturday night we played that. After we'd done everything else, that was Saturday night.
I felt Thursday with playing Zaya till like 1:30.
However,
which was fun.
I can't underestimate or understate how much fun I had to go and play Tricarion with them. I enjoyed the game a ton. It wasn't until like literally 2/3 of the way through the game that everything started to click, like, oh, I really should have kind of done this thing or that thing and whatever else. And the other thing that looked really cool about the game is that, like Chris said, that it was the first time he tried the strategy that he tried. Mm-hmm. So that was something. He said it's like probably his 10th or 12th time playing, and it was almost a completely new strategy. And I saw like tons of different options of strategies, you know, and so I'm super excited to get that later on and play it. I know that it wasn't yours, you know, you obviously have passed along, but I'm very interested to play it again because now that I get it, you know, and that was, so I would have to say that that was just one of the most pleasurable experiences, period. Like, to get offered to get the game by somebody who I've, you know, like by one of a member of a group of people that I really have hardly gotten to actually talk to, and then got to play a whole game and got to do whatever. And while generally speaking, the running joke trope is that Chris Miller doesn't do a good job of explaining the game until the last minute, he actually did a fine job of explaining the game. And we did not. Paul and I did not come in as far behind as we did because he didn't explain it well. It was just because it was such a mountain of a game to climb over that, you know, it'd be like playing Food Chain for the first time, and you know, like, just, you know, there was no chance you were going to win over somebody who's played it a few times, you know. But what about you, Josh?
My favorite game was a game that we played while doing press work, actually. I really enjoyed, what was that,
Seven Souls?
Seven Souls.
Yeah, that was a fun game.
That was a really fun game. It was...
it's from Inside Up Games.
Yeah.
It kickstarted, I think they said a little while ago. It funded no problem. But there's pre-orders, I think, that were available. But
it was a really fun
it's
game.
It's really like $29, and it's like a big full-size game with
cards,
and
cards, chits, whatnot. Well, I really enjoyed that. It might have been because I destroyed both Joe and the guy running the game.
What was that game like again? You kind of explained it, but what was it like?
You're playing, so we're each playing cards in 3 different areas, and then you flip up one area at a time, and if you have different numbers, you're all fine. If you have the same numbers, then you have to duel. Essentially, you have to battle to see who actually gets to take their action.
Deck that you have that is kind of like a deck building. Well, very minimal deck building.
There's either nightmares or horrors, which are bad, or
the horror.
The thing they always put in Cthulhu games.
Insanity?
No, like the eyeglass.
A magnifying glass?
Something like that. It was some sort of like research or something.
Yeah.
And if you flip that up, you got a point, and then you could bid. You could bet up to 2, like extra power that you were going to. Yeah. So you battle, but otherwise you just take one of the actions on the card. So it was like take
3 cards.
Take souls. Take some cards.
So you're playing the bad guys in this game.
Yeah.
Instead of the researchers.
The investigators are coming to stop you. And you can corrupt them.
Yeah, you're trying to corrupt investigators. And
Interesting.
That's pretty much what the game is.
Interesting.
You're playing cultists.
The year before last,
the art was amazing.
At Gen Con, they had that Fate of the Elder Gods game, and that one you were playing the bad guys in a fairly fast take. That's a game that I never picked up. I really enjoyed the demo that I did of it, and I thought Jerry was going to pick up, so that's why I never picked it up myself. But I think you guys really like it because it's one of those ones where you start on a spot and then you have to move to a different spot to take your action. Yeah. So you can't always ever go into one spot, and you're all trying to kind of screw each other. But then also there's investigators. Like part of how you screw each other is you stick investigators on other people and stop them and stuff. And they're very, very, very
that
interesting.
was one of my more favorite games, like probably my favorite game that I played. Another one was during press also is the one they were selling. I forget the name of it. It's like Smash Up, but with...
Sorcerer from White Wizard Games.
Oh, okay. I saw the box. I didn't know what it was.
Really cool, and I was hoping you were going to pick it up. But I was out of money. I was out of money by that time.
It was really neat. So you
I actually came home with money. It was literally like praise wow. Yeah, it was crazy.
So it's kind of like Smash Up where you take 3 sets of cards. So you have
it's like a
race, a power, and something
and
else.
A person.
Yeah.
And then you mix those together, so your person, So there's lots of combos to start off.
And there's 3 sections of the board, so you're battling against the person across from you. So
gotcha.
And you actually roll dice to battle,
and
not
you roll
just
dice
numbers.
to battle.
Okay,
so that one was really neat.
So that actually answers a different question. So that I was going to say. So out of games that you demoed but didn't get to play otherwise, because we'll call one of those 2.
Oh,
right. But,
I have another one then.
right. That's fine. But Joe, what did you demo that you really didn't get to play, or that you even looked at what it was, even if it wasn't a demo, but it was like something you didn't see and you were like, oh wow, that looks great. Because I have a really good one for that. So
okay, so I have 2. I'll save one because I think it's Josh's.
Yeah, okay.
The Evil Below.
Oh, did you get to check that out?
We got to see it in action. We didn't get to actually sit down and demo it.
Sure.
They only had 1 for
and
then they tore it down to put more of another game out that Josh is going to talk about.
Yes.
Sure.
But it looked like a lot of fun. Co-op. The clown is going around the board, Pennywise, and he's creepy looking. And it's a push your luck, but it's a co-op game, so.
And it follows the new It movie.
It does follow the new It movie. I'm just super excited for it. That's what I was going to ask. Like, what game are you excited for after this? I'm super excited. I think I will be running to their booth first at Gen Con.
Nice.
I'm very excited for that game.
Josh?
And mine was from the same company.
I have a feeling I know what it is now.
So it's Die Hard.
Yeah. The Nakatomi Plaza, something.
It looks so good, and we got to see how it is played. The board starts as it's a 4-fold board, and it's all folded up, so you're starting at the top, and you're pretty much following the movie. And everything is pretty much pulled from the movie, which is awesome. So the bad guys are trying to break code to break into the safe, and John McClane is literally just trying to kill the main Hans Gruber. Is his goal
and save the hostages.
And once you beat the first section of the map, it opens up to a double-sided board. And then
so hold on. So take a step back. Is everybody playing as John, or one person's playing John, and then
one person plays as John McClane, and then everybody else plays as the
German terrorists.
Yeah, the terrorists, the bad guys.
So nobody gets to play Carl. Nobody gets to play Carl.
No.
It's garbage. None. Nope. Not playing it. Nope.
Steve, you
nope.
can play Carl when we play.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey Joe.
There might be a Carl
Joe,
card.
suck my Carl. Okay. Yeah. I'm done with it.
There might be a Carl card.
Jerk.
And
Not a card. I want a guy. I want the guy. I want him to be able to be at the bottom.
Nothing. Just
You
talk
wanna
to
write
I
me.
want to. I get to tell the feds off. I get to tell my boss
That's
off.
right,
I get to be.
You
I
just
get to
wanna
be.
tell a bunch of people off.
Yeah. I get to. Yeah.
Take this
Come
job
on.
and shove
But
it.
that looked really, really good. That's probably gonna be a game I for sure pick up at Gen Con.
Now that it looked cool the few times because I saw the board. Like we walked by it a couple times, but of course it was so busy all the time.
Another really
Just
pretty
didn't-
game was by Yellow. I forget the name of it, but it's by Bruno Cathala. It's a
Area control.
there's like fountains and you're pretty much growing flowers and stuff, but it's really cool looking, really pretty.
It's
and
the Cara or something like that. I think it's called.
but it's a Bruno game.
Yes.
It's gonna be good.
Yeah, I did see something about that. Okay, so my one was one that I know Joe you saw for a second, and I think you kind of moved on from it. And Paul and I stood and listened to the guy spiel about it. So it's called Barrage. Okay, and the one day that we were actually following each other, right? On Saturday or whatever. It was kind of the point where you guys lost, like where you guys kept going ahead, and then we got behind, and we were kind of like separated from you.
We were filming.
Here's the thing. Well, no, that was fine. Here's the thing. So Barrage worker placement, and the goal of the game is that you're trying to get water down through a dam system. So you have to actually create like power plants to pump with and dams to actually do stuff. And they just got it through the Kickstarter. He said everything that's in there, $80. It'll be out, coming soon. And they described how like one of the coolest parts was there's a rondelle that you put down, right? So you put your thing in the rondelle and you put a piece on there to show that you did. And then those pieces that are in there are stuck in there until they come back through on the outside. So you have like pieces that are kind of sequestered away, and you get points for this and points for that, and they have really good looking components and everything. Yeah, and it moves down like that game looked really beautiful. And then when the guy got done describing it, I was like, when is this available? Because I would have gotten it right then. If it would have been available right then. He's like, well, the Kickstarter's done, but we haven't gotten it out to backers. It should be out around Essen time this year, assuming they get everything to the backers, which is fine. Like that. Yeah, that's fine. But that is. I mean, I saw other things. You know what I mean? But that one by far was like I remember it being on Kickstarter and never thinking that it looked like all that special. Yeah. And then I'm looking at it here and I was like, how given the fact that I'm always like scouring Kickstarter and I back so many stupid Kickstarters for so much stuff. And
any game you saw that you were underwhelmed with that you thought would have been better than
like you went in excited and you saw it and you're like,
yeah.
You know what? There is something. I had to think about it for 1 second. There was, and it wasn't even that it was like meh. It was just like, oh, okay. Well, maybe, yeah. It's not quite as. Oh, you know what? One other to add to that, looked really good that I got to see, was that Pipeline game.
Oh yeah.
What's that?
That was one of your mess?
Not my man, but that was meh.
Well, I just thought it looked interesting. Like there was a lot to the board and a lot to the things, like that type of stuff, and that part looked pretty interesting. I was trying to think. I thought that there was something that I looked at that like it looked cool, but it didn't look like crazy cool. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. But realistic. But to be honest, there was like like out of the list that we did, there was several games that like I didn't really demo hardly anything on my list that I was hoping to demo for one thing, and then I didn't. There were several things I never even saw. I never saw On Mars. I'm sure it was there, but I never saw it, actually.
Yeah, we saw it, yep.
Yeah, and there was 2 or 3 others that either I didn't see or I didn't see until, like, the last day.
Escape Plan looked cool.
Yeah, the Vital Lacerda.
Yeah, but it's huge.
Yeah.
It was like $120.
Yeah, because all of his games are like that, and they have a ton of components.
Amazing.
And that's the same guy that did...
Any Mad Games.
That was
one of the ones I was really excited for was Quirky Circuits. Because from Plaid Hat, it's one of the storybook games.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be like, well, now again, maybe it was just the preview because we didn't actually get to sit down and play it, so maybe it was just the preview this guy was giving. But everyone was playing one character, and I thought everyone would be playing separate characters. and it looked super simple.
Yep.
Which is supposed to be like a family game, but it was like
maybe this looked like super simple, like to the point of maybe a 5-year-old, or a few 5-year-olds might.
It looked like they almost beat the first story in their first moves.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, like that's.
Yeah.
I was hoping it was gonna be more complicated than that, but again, I want to figure out more about it still because I think my son would like to play that, but I just. After watching, I was like, "That's it. Like that's all you're doing."
We stood there and we're like, "This is too simple." My two, Pipeline was one because I kind of went and I was like, this kind of looks like those old pipe games you play. I'm sure there's more to it than that. Yeah, Waterworks.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's more to it than
there's definitely
that.
more
But
to
I was kind of like,
but...
I expected something grander than that because so many people were talking about it. And then, I got to check out all my top 10, but one of the ones I was excited for was Caravan, and I went and looked at that, and I was like, this is underwhelming like crazy.
Yeah, I was really surprised. Like, you were so hyped up for that and the talk about it and whatever else. And, like, I'd seen the thing for it. I'd seen a couple, like, little things talking about it, and I was like, that doesn't seem that exciting. And then even more so, then after you guys recorded the top 10, right?
Yeah.
Vassal had done an unboxing for it, like one of the boring unboxings I'd done, and I didn't even watch the whole boring unboxing because it was just like kind of mediocre. So I was like, but Josh is excited, so maybe there's something big about it. And I never really saw anything else that was that exciting.
I was excited for it. Went and looked at it and watched the people play it, and I was like, oh, this is not as exciting or cool or fun as I thought it was going to be. And there wasn't a lot of info out on it.
No, there wasn't a lot. And I will say this about Pipeline. It wasn't that Pipeline looked like, oh my gosh, the best components in this looks so awesome. Yeah. It just looked like, and if you remember me saying recently, I've gotten to this thing where it's like, if the game literally looks like it's going to break my head when I look at the board, that's the starting point of, okay, I want to try it because it's so, I want that complexity for whatever reason, So what did you guys pick up?
I picked up only 3 games.
Right.
Monsters Laughter, as everyone was calling it in the hotel room.
Slaughter.
Monster Slaughter.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Yeah.
I think it was.
Yeah.
It's a family weight game where you're killing humans.
Yeah, nice.
You're pretty much playing families of
monsters, so you're like playing the Frankenstein family.
Right, and you're trying to go into a house, and they're trying to. They did that on Dice Tower. They did that on a Testing Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah, and it looked pretty good.
We did a playthrough of it there, and I was like, "Yep, this is perfect level."
Yeah,
it's quick.
Yeah,
I think it'll be 45 minutes to an hour game.
And you can play with your family.
Yeah. And the thing was like.
And there's no blood or guts. Like when you attack someone, you get meat. Which is kind of like
right.
Where's that coming
well,
from?
And actually, about half the time they'll run to another room. Like you may not even get them. You kind of have to have them.
And you can actually one of the actions you can take is to scare a person away if you want to, because your whole goal is to kill the humans in the order you have selected. So at the beginning of the game, you set up the order.
Yep.
So like if someone's about to kill one that you don't want dead yet, you can scare them away so they'll go hide in another room.
Different room, so that makes the other person have to move. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, they actually did a really good playthrough. Like I heard nothing about the game, and then they're talking about it on the thing. And I was like, oh, okay, let's see how this works. And it was like, that's pretty good. It definitely seemed pretty light, like that, but it still had good enough decisions. It still had like enough weight there and the miniatures look kind of cool, and that kind of stuff, cool enough and all that. They should be an easy paint for you. Like a really nice, just be able to knock them out.
What did you end up picking?
Well, wait, go ahead.
I also got In Between, which is a 2-player card game that's kind of like, it's not in the Stranger Things universe, but it's like that. One person's trying to save the townsfolk, the other person's trying to bring them to the under the below or whatever.
So how cool is the Eggo box that it comes in? Because I need to know.
It didn't come in an Eggo box.
Oh, already a better game. Already a better game.
Thursday when we got there, they only had 4 copies of it, and it was just literally sitting on a table with no one around. I was like...
That's why they only had 4 copies. That's why they only had 4 copies, because people had stolen all the others.
Probably. And I was like, can I buy this? And the guy's like, yeah, I'll take your money. I was like, okay. Do you work? I guess I should have asked that. But it was normally $25 MSRP. They had it for $15.
Yeah.
And on Amazon, it's even more expensive because it's not sold in America. No, it's normally from like overseas.
Yeah.
So I was like, $15, and I really liked the theme. I had it on my Amazon wish list. I took it off. I bought it because that's why
I took it off.
I took it off.
I got rid of it. I wasn't into it anymore.
The other game I bought was Enchilada Shuffle or Enchilada Shuffle. Echidna.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There's no N. Yeah. Echidna
Well, there is, but it's after the D.
Yeah. I keep calling it enchilada shuffle.
Fair enough.
Family game. You're moving.
Dumb American.
Echindas around the board.
Didn't even know what they were.
Still don't know what they are. They're essentially hedgehogs.
Yeah.
Right? Let's not.
Yeah. Well, they're a marsupial, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So.
But it comes with these plastic.
So they're born live, and then they have a pouch.
And like 20 of them, and they're big.
Yeah.
Made of plastic.
They have stumps.
There's stumps. There's bugs. Yeah.
Oh, and one of the nicest things I saw during the whole convention was we're sitting down and we're playing a game, and this woman come over and asked Joe about the pin, the echidna pin that he'd gotten, and he was like, "Oh well, you blah blah blah," told her, and she's like, "Oh, that's so cool. Well, do you want it?" She's like, "No, I don't want to take it from you, blah blah." "Oh, you can have it. It's cool. I don't have." Gave her the pin. I mean, she was super happy about it.
Well, she looked like she collected pens.
Yeah, she had a ton of pens, and she said that she didn't want to buy the game because she doesn't have kids to play it with.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I bought it because I have a son that I think will like it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And a bunch of people.
It was $25 for the game, and it came with the pin, which pins are normally $10-15 on
their
own.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Vassal has already done a review of it, and he liked it. He thought it was a pretty good one.
It was a good one.
We played it.
You know what? You know who has definitely was Dan Hughes and Cora. It was one of the last games that they did before they stopped doing games as a group.
It was a pretty good one.
Cool.
It was up for the Family Award, I want to say.
Yeah, I don't know if it won or not. I didn't pay attention.
What about you?
So I only picked up 2 games in a bag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that bag was amazing.
So big bag, big tote carrying bag.
Yeah.
Probably carries.
It's a board game bag.
6 to 8 games.
5 to 6 Ticket to Ride style is what it said according to the thing.
Well, either way, I picked it up for $20, which was an amazing deal.
And then
I got one as well.
Instantly filled it up with stuff and was swinging it through the hallway like this. Right after he put it on, he almost hit a guy like 4 times in a row. The same guy, because he's literally walking around doing this.
It is like it's a why. It's like cutting off my back.
Yeah.
Bag. It's stupid. Yeah. So I picked up that. I picked up dice lanterns. Lanterns the dice game. Lanterns dice lanterns.
Yep.
Lanterns the dice game.
Did you get to play that?
Yes.
Yep, I did a demo of
it. Yeah,
I
just wondered if you got to.
Nope, I haven't got to play it yet. Kind of less excited about it than what I thought it would have been, but I'm still excited to play it. And then I picked up Copenhagen. I picked up the deluxe version of Copenhagen because I'm a crazy person.
With acrylic tiles.
I picked up both expansions with it also.
Sure,
because
why not?
The acrylic version isn't coming to retail. It was only Kickstarter exclusive, so they had a few copies there. So I like that kind of stuff, so I swiped that.
Nice.
Yeah.
I got Century New World, which got to play that a couple times. I really like that. Can't wait to play it in group of stuff. I picked up one of those same backpacks that Josh had picked up.
And they sold out. They said they brought like 1,000, and they sold out.
It was 1,000 or 2,000. I thought you said it was 2,000.
It was 1,200. They were getting more in for the last.
Okay, 1,200. So yeah.
And Steve did not hit anyone with his backpack.
I hit Paul once with the backpack, and I did hit one lady's backpack, but she was totally like cool with
that.
Backpack? No, she had a different. She had a small one. No. Yeah, we just like have backpack wars in the middle of
Those are gonna be sketchy at Gen Con.
So I got that. So I got Century New World, which was good. I got 2 of the blue Keyforge decks because I've got a bunch of the red ones and I wanted to see the differences in the blue ones. So I got 2 of those. So I'd have one for myself and one for somebody else to play with. I'll probably even one friend though that I played that stuff a bit with. And then I got the expansion for Robinson Crusoe, the one that just came out, because that was on sale because they marked a bunch of stuff down in the cool stuff booth that last day. So I got it for $25. It's normally $36 there. 36 in cool stuff. So it's like 45 in real world. You know,
that's the nice thing if you stay till Sunday. Is a lot of people
don't
want to take stuff back with them. So they start selling stuff for cheaper.
And then I got 2 of the Dice Throne season 2, the first season of Dice Throne. Everything came in one big box, like all the different factions. My buddy that I played the 2-player stuff that plays like Keyforge and that, he got the first season stuff like out of nowhere. We've played a bunch of those. That game is great.
I heard it's amazing.
It's really good. So then he got one of the season 2 things, but hadn't gotten any more. And the difference between the season 1 and 2 is in the season 2, you buy each of the different ones. There are two factions in each box. And so they're a little bit different than the first season's one was. But otherwise, they're like super well done. So I got 2 more of the factions, and they were $18 a piece instead of 22 or whatever it was. So not a huge savings, but you know, like I was happy to have them. And did I get anything else? I felt like I got one other. Oh, and then the other thing that I got was I got the plastic upgrade tokens for Orleans because I really wanted those and they look great. And I battled myself every day to not get Le Havre's, and I didn't get Le Havre's upgrades, but I did find out that the ones for Quacks that they've had before, that the anticipation is that between now and Gen Con they'll come back online, and that the one woman from, I don't know all the BGG people, like I know Aldi and Eric, and then the people that were YouTubers outside that then came in. But one of the people that's a regular, one of the ladies said that because I asked when we were in the line with the other, she said that they were planning on having them in before Gen Con, but no matter what happened with that, they were going to bring at least 100 bags of them to Gen Con because people have been emailing them nonstop about those upgrades because they're nice, you know what I mean? And so I'm super excited for that.
I also got an upgrade add-on. I got more coconuts for coconuts.
Oh, nice, nice.
Different colored ones, like pink and hot green.
So I walked by the table, and they were like hot green and like neon green and hot pink, and I was like, I was
wondering what hot green was because I don't often see green things on fire, but you know, like that's.
But I was like, oh, where do you get those? And I saw they had some over by the games. I was like, hey, can I buy a bag of those? And they were like, well, we're just giving them with. When you buy the game, I was like, well, I've already bought the game at Gen Con. And the guy just walks off. I was like, okay, good conversation, I guess. So we start to leave, and he's like, hey, wait. Here you go, just take one since you already own the game.
Oh,
happens to find out he's like one of the owners.
Yeah, right, nice. And this is why we can't have nice things, because you get frustrated and say, have a nice convention and try and walk away. And other people are trying to be nice.
He just walked off. I was kind of lingering, and he was like, where'd he go? And I was like, hey.
Because he just kind of like, was like, oh, if you buy the game, you can have them, and then just.
It's a good thing you're there. It's a good thing you're there to make sure. I know, Josh. He just walked away.
So I was like, okay.
He probably forgot you were there. Yeah. You looked over your head, saw something behind you, and you know.
At least I'm not the guy.
Yeah. Again, at least I'm not the guy known for pooping every 4 minutes. So,
whatever.
You know.
Only known here.
Oh no, they were small ones. Yeah, every 4 minutes.
A couple more things that we'll try to get through real quick.
Steve, shut up.
What was the favorite thing you ate during the con?
Oh, favorite thing. Go, Steve, go.
If I'd only had half the melt sandwich, that would have been like the best. Only because there was so much blue cheese on that melt sandwich. By the end of the melt sandwich, it was like I don't even taste chicken anymore. I just taste blue cheese. But that sandwich was great, and I didn't get to taste the heaven that was his. And then outside of that, I would say that the next best thing I ate was the ribs / brisket that I got from the North Market was amazing. That was super good.
We ate at Gordon Biersch one night. The burgers were amazing there.
And I only had an appetizer. Otherwise, that probably would have. But that was the same day that I had all that brisket and ribs like 4 hours before, and I was still so freaking full. Yeah, go ahead. Tell us, Josh.
I ate a lot there. So I did a double order of fries, an order of coleslaw,
two Bloody Marys,
a glass of water,
and a moon pie. Yeah, that's the best part.
He ate so much. No wonder why the next day all he did was go to the bathroom.
That's why I pooped. That doesn't account for that day when you were pooping already.
I think the first day was nervous poops for doing that.
Nervous poops.
So we did that. The Northern Market I got like falafel one day.
Yep, and I got
that
shawarma.
Was really good.
That was really good.
But then we went to Melt. I got the like chorizo potato sandwich.
Yeah, and you were like super good. You were like, man, this is great. This is super great.
Egg on it. It was better cold.
Yeah.
I ate the other half after we played the grill.
Then he tried mine.
Okay, so what did you get, Josh? Before and don't say but what did you get?
So this place, it's all about grilled cheeses. So there's a billion different grilled cheeses. So I get the peanut butter, banana, grilled cheese, and cream cheese. So it's peanut butter, banana, cream cheese.
And a raspberry dip.
But I decided to add bacon and deep fry mine.
Yeah.
So made it even better. Oh my.
So he's eating it and like looking like
dying.
he was literally he was loving it, but also barely putting forkfuls in his mouth.
Mine came out like everybody else's came out like regular grilled cheeses. Mine came out like twice the size of the.
Well, because they deep fried it. Yeah. So then Joe eats a piece of it.
I try to bite.
Leans back in his chair and was like, "My sandwich is garbage. My sandwich, like it was
My
like,
sandwich was so good."
And I'm sorry. Let me do this justice. My sandwich is garbage. He was like pissed that he'd eaten this.
I was so mad. I clearly had made the wrong choice at that point. I love peanut butter, and if you like peanut butter at all, this sandwich is like.
Yeah.
They take candied peanuts and crush them up and mix them in with the peanut butter.
Yes.
But they make their own peanut butter anyway.
Don't add the bacon. You don't need it.
Yeah, the bacon one didn't really add
I don't know if
anything.
the deep fry really added anything either.
Yeah. It might have, but you don't know.
Just the regular sandwich by itself, I think. I didn't get bacon, and I don't know if I got any of the deep fry stuff.
I will say this though. Well, you might have, but I will say this: the one thing that the deep fryer might have done that might not have been otherwise, also gave it an extra amount of melting. Right, like it melted that peanut butter even more than it would have just been on the one.
Pretty much peanut butter and cream cheese was on everything. It was amazing.
I wanted
my fries in
Yeah,
it.
he literally had all of his fries and everything covered in that stuff.
Mine was super good. I just probably would have liked it to have a little bit more of the. What I thought about later was I should have asked him for a little dipping thing of the buffalo sauce because then that would have given me like a something alternate.
You should have asked him for some grenadine.
Oh my god! There was so much. That guy was a good. That guy was really busted himself in half to be a good waiter for us. To the point that I didn't even understand some of what he did. You know, it was.
So overall, if you're in, if you go to Origins, go to the Melt
and go there at a busy time because they might just give you a free appetizer because they made too many. Because they make too many.
Like the poutine fries. Those things were amazing.
The what?
Poutine.
Okay, because the minute ago you were going a whole different type of fries, and I didn't know if you wanted to record that.
It was good.
Yeah, the food was great. Everywhere we ate was great. Tried bubble tea for the first time. It was great the first time. The second time was trash.
It was garbage. Yeah, they didn't put enough syrup in.
We showed up the second time. All new employees.
So like four people called in.
I was like, "What happened?" And he's like, "They just pulled us from another place." Like I was like, "What?" Yeah, we just got pulled from another place. I was like, "You don't even."
They
work
never
at
even
Bubble Tea?"
And I will also say this: on the way home, we left out and we didn't eat there in Columbus. I was like, well, do we want to eat before we leave, or do we want to get on the road, or whatever else? And he was like, well, let's get on the road. It'll be fine. We'll get on the road. And I was like, all right. So we start driving, and I'm like, so what do we want to eat? You know, like I said, I don't. He's like, well, do you want to go through fast food, or do you want to sit down? And I didn't necessarily care, but I said, if we're gonna go to fast food, I'd be a little bit picky about it because there's just some stuff I'm not super excited about. But I said I would prefer to sit and eat at something that wasn't a Denny's because that was a horrible down thing. He's like, sure. What about pizza? So I literally spent like 10 minutes like looking up pizza places all along as we're driving and all this stuff. We ended up going to a chain called East of Chicago where they make Chicago style pizza and stuff.
Oh, nice.
In this little tiny, it was in Upper Sandusky, but like we got off, we literally got off and getting off at Perry looks way more industrial and city-like than where we got off. And then we drove away from what looked like anything and came in on the backside of this town, went up to this little place, and it was really excellent little pizza. Yeah. You know, you could only get a medium in the Chicago style, but it was excellent. It wasn't like the best pizza I've ever had, but for a deep dish with good stuff, really, really tasty. Yeah. Really, really good stuff. So, I mean, you know, again, the brisket and that was better, and the melt, that place is really good. Mm-hmm. I mean, and one other thing. All the machines are free. Don't get your quarters.
Oh my god!
Well, they had a change machine. Yeah.
I did the same. I got quarters too. It wasn't like you were the only one.
I got like $4 worth of quarters. I was excited. I was ready to play some arcade.
Yeah.
Then I put a quarter in, and I'm like, I'm playing, and it's like free play.
I put a quarter in.
I was like,
and I saw at the bottom it said free play, and I was like, God dang it, I wasted a quarter.
Yep.
Right. So then I started playing and everything. I'm like, okay. Well, I put 2 in because it said 50 cents on my machine. Put 2 in, get going. start playing everything else, and was like, oh, okay. And then I was about to put another quarter in, and then it said free play, and I looked away. So I thought, you know, how sometimes they have that thing where you can get a free play. I thought I just did. So I was like, cool, all right. And then it wasn't until the next one where somehow I had accidentally started 2 players and played a 2-player game by myself that I realized in your eyes, like, oh, yeah, it's free. I was like, oh, never mind.
All right, real quick. What was your favorite overall moment?
Okay. I have to go. My moment is a little bit of a cheat. It was the Secret Cabal meetup. I know that's more than a moment.
Yeah.
There were so many funny anecdotes.
Right?
What? Yeah, no.
That was part.
No,
Yeah,
the hanging out with you guys and us cracking jokes about whatever, and some of the like little bit of conversation we had there was some of the funnest time I had at the whole convention.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then I get to meet
Everybody.
8 people and then turn that into a game day thing and learn a game and whatever else. I mean, that's one of my highlights of any of the conventions I've been to, because that whole combination of stuff.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
And you know, it was just really, really great. That all the way around. Super fun.
Josh?
My highlight, I don't know. I think I have a few. Surprisingly, going as press was kind of a highlight. Because we got to kind of learn a lot, do a lot of things we've never done before. Got to talk to the people in the industry, see games that aren't out yet, stuff like that.
See things no one else can see, do things no one else can do.
I don't know about that.
Like the 7 bottle jug
I mean,
from Big Trouble in Little China.
We got to go in early one day. We got to stay late one day. Just little things that you get to do as press. So that was really neat. Probably my favorite thing. I don't know. Melt was really good. I really just.
That was also that was the next best time sitting and just doing whatever. Between those 2 meals, like
being able to being around friends and enjoying friends' company.
Jesus, that was so good.
Even back at the hotel playing like Zio or playing.
I love that part, playing Zio with you guys and stuff.
Or whatever.
Yeah, I'm playing Skulls with you guys too.
Not you.
Oh.
But I enjoyed playing.
No wonder that was one of your favorite parts.
I didn't play. You went out to dinner with us, so I enjoyed that. You count also, Steve. Jesus.
Up to 100 since I was a little kid.
But I enjoyed playing like Century with you. We got to play games.
Yeah, we got to play several games.
Just playing games with friends was probably my favorite part, because at Gen Con we don't really do that, or we haven't in the past.
We just need to push it a little bit harder. That's all. I'm reconsidering like how certain things are going for it, and so I'm really hoping that this year I can push closer to doing that more gameplay. You know.
I probably had a couple, besides all that stuff you guys already mentioned. I really enjoyed going out to dinner and stuff. That was and playing the games. That was a lot of fun. I'm glad we got to do that. I really enjoed playing sneaky cards throughout the event.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that.
We were super
I didn't.
Both of us were super
I was still nervous even halfway in between the games.
But once we got going, it was so much fun. And like I've watched I went through and just chopped through a couple of the videos. I didn't line them up. I just separated them and made sure what sneaky cards. And it's pretty fun. Yeah.
If you ever see Josh, if any of anybody who watches this ever sees Josh at a convention, just walk up to him and ask him to buy you a cup of coffee. He won't do it. He's not going to do it, but do it, because it'll make everybody else around him laugh a lot. Go ahead, Joe. Finish what you were saying.
Oh, I bought somebody coffee at 8:30 at night.
Yeah, because you begged loudly, and finally somebody took pity on you. Go ahead. What were you saying?
The other thing was seeing people that I met at other conventions back here. So like Marshall from Leader Games, we actually played an RPG. Josh and I did with him at Grand Con.
Right.
And he was just walking by, going to where, and he stopped, and he was like, "Hey, what's up, Joe?" And I was like, "Oh my God, you remembered me."
Right.
But so
right, and happened to drop the little hint that Root had just won the Game of the Year at Origins Awards. So there you go.
Yeah, so that was cool. I like just that's happening now. We're going to conventions enough that we're starting to see people at them year and year again where they're remembering.
Yeah.
Things like that.
I'm super excited about it. Yeah,
that's fun.
I still don't know at this point whether or not he was messing with me or not, but either way, he's super class act. You know, I mean, like whether or not he actually remembered me is the thing, or whatever. But it doesn't matter. He was. I mean, again, everybody was pretty class. The whole thing was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And at this point, the only thing that'll probably now I'm very high on the idea of these two conventions every year going forward.
Yeah.
On stopping point would be at some point I intend to go to UKGE.
Or Essen, right?
Well, UKGE would be similar time of the year.
Okay.
I'm not going to be able to afford both.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then Essen would be later in the year, so that could potentially prevent me from going to Gen Con then if I went to that, whatever year I do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, but yeah, other than that, I think, and Paul seemed like he was very interested in going very regularly. You know, like his wife said that she'd be totally cool with him, and it is around that time frame where that's a great gift for him to go. And so
yeah, it wasn't bad with us leaving on Thursday because I was still able to, like, that means my wife only had to deal with kids on Friday for dropping them off. That's the hardest part for us.
Yeah.
Right.
I would like to go again next year.
Yeah.
I would like to leave Wednesday night if possible.
Sure.
So we can do all
Well,
day
I mean,
Thursday.
my druthers, I'd go Wednesday and do just like we do for Gen Con, and just because I don't care, you know,
Yeah.
like because there'd be that many more days to play, you know, or
Yeah.
whatever.
And I'm
but,
sure I could pull that, for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So
my big thing is just making sure I have enough time to go.
exactly.
Yeah, that
Yep.
the world doesn't implode.
Yeah,
on
it
me.
was. I liked it.
Overall, I really enjoyed Origins, not Georgians.
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 He hated the Georgians that were there, but he liked Origins.
Yes. There
Stay
we go.
away, Georgians. He's not. He doesn't
I
like
know. I'm
it.
excited for Gen Con. I'm excited for Origins again next year. So
Yes.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
Now that means Nate's gonna have to come with us.
we'll see.
Because that's all he wants to do is
Origins.
Origins.
Yeah.
But
Mm.
problem is we'd probably be busy at Origins again with press. I'm assuming.
That's not necessarily a problem.
No, not
I,
for
w-
us.
I would look at that. I would look at that as a positive.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, if you have any questions about Origins or things that we talked about, drop a comment. We'll try to answer them.
Yeah.
Were you at Origins?
Yeah.
Did you pick up anything?
Did you see us?
Yeah.
Did you
And-
take my pin?
You didn't. Nobody gave me a hug.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, no.
No.
Wow.
Well, I tried the one night, but you tried to punch me, so I wasn't doing it anymore.
Surprisingly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the first time you've ever done that when I tried, but it was a low hug. It's the way it is.
Yeah.
And also, is there anything that you heard about or you'd like us to talk about that you wondered if we did? Like you saw our preview and wanted to know what we thought about something that we didn't talk about.
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah.
Until next time, I think we're going to wrap this up.
Yes.
All right.
Like, subscribe.
Yep. Share.
Yep.
Tell your grandma, tell your mom, tell your dad.
Yep.
Tell your brother, sister, everyone.
Kids, relatives,
Cousins.
yeah,
Anyone.
People.
co-workers,
If you made it this far,
strangers.
you should subscribe because you love us.
you gotta at least like us somewhat,
Yeah.
because nobody should be watching this stuff.
No. Until next time, though, my name's Joe,
I'm Josh.
I'm Steve.
and you've been watching Down the Vent.
Woo-loo-loo-loo-loo-loo.